Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today, we bring you breaking developments from Iran, where the Islamic regime appears to be teetering on the edge of collapse. In a shocking turn of events, the Crown Prince has reportedly taken control, while the streets of Tehran and other major cities erupt with unprecedented protests against Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. These events mark one of the most significant political crises in modern Iranian history and could reshape the country's future in ways that few anticipated. For decades, Iran has been ruled under the strict governance of the Islamic Republic, with Khamenei holding ultimate authority. Yet, despite the regime's tight grip, public dissatisfaction has simmered under the surface for years. Economic struggles, corruption, human rights violations, and political repression have fueled widespread anger. Now that anger has exploded openly, and the world is witnessing a critical moment where power is shifting in Tehran, reports from multiple sources indicate that the Crown Prince, whose identity remains closely tied to the political elite, has assumed a decisive role in the nation's governance. This move appears to be a strategic attempt by elements within the regime to maintain control while addressing public unrest. However, the reaction on the streets suggests that many Iranians are rejecting both Khamenei and the monarchy's traditional mechanisms of authority, demanding immediate and systemic change. Video footage circulating online shows massive crowds gathering in major squares, waving banners, chanting slogans against Khamenei, and calling for an end to the Islamic Republic's oppressive policies. Citizens of all ages are participating, signaling a unifying moment of resistance. Women, who have long been at the forefront of protests in Iran, are highly visible in these demonstrations, highlighting the evolving dynamics of dissent and social change in the country. The economic backdrop cannot be ignored in understanding why these protests have reached such intensity. Iran has faced severe economic sanctions for years, leading to rising inflation, widespread unemployment, and declining living standards. The Iranian currency has plummeted, and basic goods have become increasingly unaffordable. Combined with systemic corruption and a political elite seen as detached from everyday struggles, these factors have created a powder keg of public frustration. The Crown Prince's assumption of control seems, at least in part, to be an attempt to stabilize the situation. Yet the response from citizens indicates that mere changes in leadership may not be sufficient to quell public outrage. International reaction has been swift. Governments and media outlets worldwide are watching closely, analyzing what this power shift might mean for regional stability and global politics. Iran plays a critical role in the Middle East, influencing conflicts in Syria, Iraq, Yemen, and Lebanon. A change at the top of Tehran's political hierarchy could alter alliances, affect oil markets, and impact international negotiations over Iran's nuclear program. Analysts suggest that the Crown Prince may be attempting to consolidate power quickly to prevent a complete unraveling of the state apparatus. Social media platforms have become a key battleground in this unfolding crisis. Citizens are sharing real-time footage, eyewitness accounts, and personal testimonies that offer the world an unfiltered view of the protests. Authorities, meanwhile, have attempted to control the narrative, censoring certain channels and limiting access to online communication. Yet these efforts have largely failed as the movement gains momentum. The digital age has made it impossible for any regime, no matter how authoritarian, to entirely contain information or suppress the voices of its people. The symbolism of the streets is particularly powerful. Across Tehran, crowds are gathering at historically significant locations, squares and streets that have witnessed political upheaval before. These physical spaces, once sites of controlled demonstrations or regime-sanctioned events, now serve as platforms for spontaneous, authentic public expression. For the first time in decades, ordinary Iranians are stepping into spaces traditionally dominated by the state, asserting their presence and demanding accountability. One of the most striking aspects of this crisis is the apparent split within the Iranian elite. Some factions appear to support the crown prince's ascension, hoping it will preserve the core structures of power while appeasing public anger. Others remain loyal to Khamenei, creating tension at the highest levels of governance. Such internal division can accelerate political instability as competing groups struggle to assert dominance amid widespread unrest. Historical precedents suggest that when regimes face simultaneous internal and external pressures, the outcome is often unpredictable and sometimes explosive. The human cost of these protests is significant. Reports indicate clashes between demonstrators and security forces, with injuries and arrests escalating rapidly. Yet the persistence of protesters, despite the risks, underscores the depth of public sentiment and the determination of ordinary citizens to challenge entrenched authority. These events are not merely political, they are social, cultural, and profoundly personal, reflecting the aspirations and frustrations of an entire generation. It is also important to consider the regional implications. Iran's neighbors are closely monitoring the situation, weighing the potential impact on border security, refugee flows, and geopolitical alignments. Countries like Saudi Arabia, Israel, Turkey, and the Gulf states have historically had tense relations with Tehran, and a destabilized Iran could shift power balances across the Middle East. Meanwhile, global powers, including the United States, Russia, and China, are assessing how these developments might affect their strategic interests, alliances, and energy markets. The world is watching Tehran, and the ripple effects of these events are likely to extend far beyond Iran's borders. Despite the dramatic developments, uncertainty remains. While the Crown Prince has assumed control, his ability to govern effectively depends on numerous factors, including the loyalty of the military, the support of influential clerics, and the patience of the Iranian populace. If protests continue to escalate, or if factions within the government resist consolidation, Iran could face a prolonged period of instability. Historically, moments of rapid political change often produce unintended consequences, and analysts warn that the coming weeks will be critical in determining whether the regime survives in a new form or collapses entirely. In the midst of this turmoil, ordinary Iranians are documenting, organizing, and expressing themselves in ways that defy traditional expectations of authoritarian control. From street murals and social media campaigns to underground networks and cultural expressions, citizens are asserting agency in a society long dominated by hierarchical power. These acts of resistance, while small individually, accumulate to create a potent force that challenges the very legitimacy of the state. As the situation unfolds, questions abound. Will the Crown Prince succeed in stabilizing the regime, or is this the beginning of a broader revolution? Can Khamenei maintain any measure of influence, or is his authority effectively ended? What will the international community do in response to a rapidly changing Iranian political landscape? While no one can predict the exact trajectory, one thing is certain: Iran is at a historic crossroads, and the decisions made in the coming days and weeks will have lasting consequences for the nation and the region. This video will continue to provide updates as new information emerges, analyzing the implications and helping viewers understand the complex dynamics at play. From the streets of Tehran to the corridors of power, the story of Iran's current crisis is one of tension, courage, and uncertainty. It is a story that reminds the world that no regime, no matter how entrenched, is immune to the demands of its people. Thank you for watching, and if you want to stay informed on this and other major global developments, make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share your thoughts in the comments below. The situation in Iran is evolving rapidly, and together we will continue to follow the story as it unfolds.